Unity by Queen Latifah blasts in a close-up on a box that says Jackie's Tapes. Naila, 16, with headphones and a cassette player on her hip, picks up that box and adjusts the headphones on her ears. She picks the box up and places it on the couch. She opens the box and begins pulling out tapes from inside of it that belonged to her grandmother. She smiles at each of them as she places them back in the box. She picks up a tape with the label Naila on it. She flips it to see there is a side A and a side B. Before she can open the cassette player, her mother comes in and grabs one last box. She looks over at Naila and sighs.
Of course you would leave me to do all of the heavy lifting.
Huh?
It would be helpful if you actually were bringing things to the car. I have to get to work soon.
Sorry.
I see you found our old tapes.
Yeah.
Are you going to listen to them?
Maybe. Have you?
Actually, never really paid attention to her rap career. I got more consumed in not being in entertainment.
It's something you two could have shared if you cared.
Okay, don't do that.
I'm just saying.
She was my mother, Naila. Don't forget that. Now bring your ass to the car so we can go.
She leaves out of the house. Naila rolls her eyes and grabs the box. She leaves, closing the door behind her. The car is silent. Naila looks out the window. The only sound that can be heard is NWA's "Fuck the Police."
Coming straight from the underground. A young nigga got it back 'cause I'm brown.
Naila.
Other colors, so police think they have the authority.
Naila.
Fuck that shit.
Girl.
For a punk mother.
Oh,
I told you about listening to music in my car.
I have on headphones. It's not even bothering you.
It is when it's turned up so loud that I can hear it from all the way over here. Now turn it down or turn it off.
She has her headphones on over her ears and bops to the music playing in an attempt to rap over them. She smiles and nods, liking the words she's coming up with, and jots them down quickly in her journal before rewinding it back. She looks up at the Naila tape on her dresser. She pauses the music and gets up to grab it. Once she grabs the tape, she looks at it in curiosity. She sits back on her bed, examining it before picking up her cassette player and ejecting the last tape. She puts it on side A, places her headphones on, and presses play. The cassette begins rolling.
Hey, baby. I was wondering when you'd get this tape. I knew you'd be looking through my cassettes one of these days after I got you that player. I decided to leave you with something you could always have. On this side is my message to you. Keep writing. I know you're probably listening to this writing in that book of yours, so keep doing it. Never stop chasing your dreams. I may have stopped mine, but that was because your mother came into my life and she was the best thing that has ever happened to me, no matter how close we were. So with that said, if I'm already gone, your mama needs you. This is the time to lean on each other. Whatever feelings or frustrations or anger you have should not be towards her. I need you to be strong. I'm gone, but I've written my history. Now it's time for you to write yours. So on the B side of this tape, I want you to write your story. But in order to do that, you got to understand the past. So turn this thing over and let's get started.
The tape stops. Naila wipes her tear that fell from her cheek and quickly opens the cassette player and turns to side B. She closes the player, uses her thumb to press the play button. When she does, the player shakes and a shockwave travels through the headphone wires, through the headphones, and into her ears. Naila sits up quickly and starts panting. She looks around in confusion before ripping off her headphones from her ears. She looks around to see she is in an alley and watches as people step over her to get in line to a club. Naila rubs her head before slowly standing up. She walks over to the front of the line to peek inside. A bouncer stops her by gently grabbing her arm.
And where exactly do you think you're going?
I was just
Are you lost or something, little mama?
I think so.
Well, I can't have you in this area. This is for 18 and up. You don't look a day over 14.
I'm 16.
Same difference. Look, I'm not going to tell you again, little girl. You should be heading home. The street lights has been on.
What?
I am so sorry, girl. That was my fault. I'm so sorry.
It's cool. I wasn't paying attention.
Aren't you a bit young to be trying to get into this place?
Oh, I wasn't trying to get in. I was just trying to go home.
Jackie, you got us skinny. You're already late.
Stop bugging out. I'm never late. The party don't start till I'm on the stage.
I admire your confidence. Now just take it inside and on the stage, please. Who is this little person?
Her name is...
Naila. My name is Naila.
Jackie stops on her tracks and turns around back to Naila.
You want to come in a little bit?
I'm not 18 or up.
And I don't have the biggest tits either. But who gives a shit, right?
Naila laughs a bit and starts walking towards Jackie. She looks down at her cassette player and sighs. Jackie unplugs the headphones from the player and tosses it in the trash.
What the hell?
I got a better one in my dressing room. Come with me and I'll let you have it.
For free?
Oh, show.
Gives her a bottle of water before exiting. Jackie grabs the cassette player and hands it to Naila.
Here you go, honey.
This is top of the line. Thank you so much.
Naila hugs her, and when she does, she looks at the table behind her to see a sonogram. She looks over again to see a newspaper reading Jackie World Tour. She pulls away.
You said your name was Jackie, right?
That's me. I thought you heard my records.
We're in 1978, aren't we?
Yeah? You doing all right? Did you hit your head?
I get it.
Huh?
Naila looks down at the record player and smiles. She puts her tape in the new player and looks back up at Jackie and smiles.
I have heard your music.
Yes! I knew my music was reaching you youngins.
But aren't you tired of all this?
What do you mean?
The fame?
I'll never get tired of doing what I love.
Not even for something you could start loving?
Naila motions to the sonogram. Jackie grabs it and balls it in her fist.
My manager said I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to keep my fans and raise my baby. But I want to. I don't expect you to understand.
Trust me, I do. More than you know.
You're not.
No. I got a long time before that. I just know because I have a mom who loves me, puts me first through everything. I take her for granted. Sometimes we don't share the same interests. But my grandmother kept us together. She told me once, carrying life inside you is the strongest superpower any superhero can possess.
I say that all the time. Your grandmother's a smart woman.
She was. She is. I think I get the lesson now. I'm ready.
You sure you ain't hit your head?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hi.
She gives Jackie another embrace, but this time it lasts longer. The two hug and Jackie starts to oddly feel connected to Naila. Naila finally releases and wipes her tear. She turns to leave, but before closing the door, she looks back at Jackie.
I'll see you later.
She closes the door.
Are you ready?
I think I'm actually gonna go for a burger instead.
There's a soft knock at the door, and her mom slowly opens the door. They make eye contact, and before her mother could speak, Naila runs to her and gives her a huge embrace.
The Pantheon of Anthem Protesters by Ellen Davis Sullivan. A museum. Tour guide enters.
Gentle persons of all persuasions, welcome to the Pantheon of Anthem Protesters. This, of course, is our best known protester, former National Football League great, or some would say not so great, but pretty darn opinionated, quarterback Colin Kaepernick. You know his story, knelt during the national anthem and got booted from the NFL. Next, we have Tommy Smith for raising his fist during the national anthem at the '68 Mexico Olympics. Mr. Smith got tossed off the U.S. track team the day he won gold and broke the world record for the 200-meter sprint. Last, we have the mother of all anthem protesters, art patron, society matron, builder of a Venetian palace in the heart of Boston, a woman who protested the Star-Spangled Banner before it was even the national anthem, Isabella Stewart Gardner.
Who?
Is this a joke?
All due respect, ma'am. And all a mature white lady can't be the mother of our movement.
Of course I can.
Not for me.
You just need to hear my story. I'm making news again. After all these years, people are talking about me.
Nope, not happening. If they talk about anyone protesting the anthem, it's Cap.
All right, but they will talk about me once I'm part of this exhibit.
I don't have a thing against an old, mature white lady. Heck, my mom's an old, mature, middle-aged white lady, but I'm with Tommy.
You don't even know what I did.
Ma'am, I'm sure you have a great story. It's just nothing to do with the pantheon of anthem protesters. God, that's hard to say. Couldn't we have a smoother name?
She thinks it's clever.
You do.
Oh, don't look at me. I just arrived.
Oh, and not her. You'll see.
We sacrificed our athletic careers for racial justice. I'm guessing that's not what you did.
I caused a near riot in Boston Symphony Hall. The first time they start to play that song, I stand up, causing everyone to stare. Then I turn on my heel and walk out. They went into a panic.
Wait a second. They weren't standing for the national anthem?
It wasn't officially the national anthem. That didn't happen until 1931.
Sounds like you enjoy the attention.
Outrageous acts are my specialty. You should have been at Symphony Hall the day I wore my "Oh, you Red Sox" banner.
You wore a banner?
On my hat.
When you walked out on the anthem, were you protesting the third verse?
The pro-slavery verse?
It supports slavery. That's dreadful. I thought it was just patriotic drivel.
It is, but the third verse is a real show. Show.
What's the matter?
I can't say a certain word.
That's because this was written by a white lady who wants to keep it rated PG.
Someone's writing what we say?
You don't think free speech means you can say any old thing?
I did.
I do.
Boys, now let's be
She's
sensible.
gonna let you go there?
She?
Whoever this writing woman is won't let us swear, but you can call two adult black men boys?
That's not allowed?
Not these days.
Not even in my day.
Is she trying to embarrass me? That would be just like a Boston Blue Nose to try and make me look bad. They've disliked me since the day I arrived from New York and snatched up their most eligible bachelor.
I'm sure she only wants to present you in a way that's historically accurate.
She can shove her historical accuracy. I'm trying to have a conversation with these two gentlemen.
Right on.
If your protest had nothing to do with slavery, what were you on about?
I refuse to listen to that infernal song at a concert hall. It's offensive to real musicians. Mozart, Beethoven, Bach.
That puts us right back to you not being our founding mama.
I don't agree. Do either of you have an interest in music?
Of course.
Who doesn't?
We have to dance for you?
I'm not talking about dance music.
We were dancing.
It's in the stage directions.
Stage directions?
Who are you?
I play the part of the tour guide. I'm also the playwright.
You're making a complete mess of this.
I am trying to, I don't want to give it away. Here, I will cross out the dancing.
If you're in control of this, I'd like more about my story. Not enough people remember me.
I'm sorry, there's no time for that. They'll have to Google you. Mrs. Gardner, from where you were, please.
I was asking about music. When I go to Symphony Hall, I sit transfixed, listening. I can remain that way for hours.
Sounds like me with Fortnite.
The game my grands play?
What I could not tolerate was this marching band claptrap being played because a group of biddies in Rhode Island suspected the symphony conductor of being a spy.
Was he?
Of course not.
Then where'd they get the idea?
The editor of their local paper fed them lies because the conductor had come from Germany. It was 1917. Americans hated everything German. Even a hamburger had to be called a Liberty steak. He called the conductor the Kaiser's friend.
Yeah, they called me a commie.
I get un-American.
Of course, the conductor was a friend of the Kaiser, but he's no spy. They share a love for the world's finest music.
Kind of a Eurocentric view.
Sorry?
Guess we have to cut her some slack since she's from back then.
Do we? Do we have to?
If you could just let her get through this part.
I don't know. Starting to sound like a history lesson.
That's why I wrote the dancing. But never mind. Continue, please.
If the conductor didn't mind playing the song, why'd you care?
He did mind. He refused for weeks.
Why'd he give in?
He was afraid he'd get arrested and sent to an internment camp.
I did not know you had those in World War I, but you really aren't the mother of our movement.
Why not?
Your protest was about music, not human rights.
Yeah, you belong in our church, but not in our pew. You need to be in the pantheon of aesthetic anthem protesters. You keep making it worse.
I am trying for a laugh, to lighten the mood.
Not working.
Look, we need our space here.
All due respect, but you need to find another room.
We need all the space we can get on our side because more of my brothers and sisters are getting themselves in some serious deep sneakers. Deep sneakers? Who the hell in the world says deep sneakers?
I'm trying to keep it so this can be done in schools.
They never talk about me in schools.
You?
Just one moment. I have not conceded. I am the first anthem protester, and I want everyone to know it.
Hire a publicist.
I stood up to protect a man who was being hounded because of his nationality.
You're getting warmer.
But for you, it was all about the music.
Would it help if she told you the conductor spent 2 years in an internment camp?
It's true. And I'd like everyone to recognize what I did.
Sorry, ma'am. We've got real work to do here. We can't let folks get confused about what we stand for.
Right this way.
I thought this was such a good idea.
End of play.
Once I Was a Kingdom by Gemma Cooper Novak.
Like you, I have been many people, but it's most significant for this meeting that many, many lives ago, I was Zenobia, the Queen of Palmyra. They called me also Bat Zabai.
I'm not familiar.
I understand that for all of us, you are absorbed in our local knowledge, as though we are the only ones who matter. But for you, for someone like you, everyone matters. Everyone should. I became the Queen of Palmyra when my husband died, Odinathus. My son, Wahbalat, he was too young. I was his regent. I ruled for him. And I expanded our realm as you wouldn't be able to imagine. Ultimately, I made the decision to challenge the Roman Emperor Aurelian, who conquered all that was in his path. The empire had long since conquered us, of course, and I had no interest in standing for that. I wanted to assert our power, and assert it I did.
And when was this?
It was nearly 1800 years ago. Palmyra now, I'd only want to see it for Sabine. If I can find her. If these people of yours, if they can find her.
And did you, Zenobia, did you succeed in challenging the emperor?
For a while, I went further than any other leader had gone in challenging him. Once I had conducted several successful maneuvers, we were able to take Egypt into the Palmyran kingdom. Egypt, after all of that, can you imagine? For so long, Rome had treated Palmyra as a way station, a trading post, and we were more. We were much more. Certainly, my husband had ambitions, but I wish you could understand. I'm correct, am I not, in saying you have never commanded an army?
You tell me.
In this lifetime?
You're correct.
Men like an ocean, young men moving at your will. You say aloud the plans you have been making for hours, for days, and immediately they become action at a scale that you thought you could imagine, but you couldn't. Not until you see it before you. Thousands of men, thousands of horses, thousands of swords and spears in desert sunlight. They flow when you move your hand. They protect you, but more, they extend you. They extend your reach. When these men are yours, you can touch anything. And what you touch becomes yours.
Yes.
I did it all in the name of my son, of course. It was to be his kingdom. But the truth is that it never compelled him. Do you understand? Not as it compelled me.
Yes, that's true of my daughter, too.
Do you ever think of what a kingdom it could have been had she wanted it?
No, not really.
You can hardly imagine the triumph. We pushed right to Aurelian's borders. Not simply his conquered lands, the heart of the empire itself. It was only then that he came for me. And it was he himself who had to leave Rome and come for me. But ultimately, he was better armed than I was. We were conquered. In the end, Palmyra was returned again to the empire.
And what happened to you?
Well, there are many different stories.
But you know the truth.
I do, yes. But it's time for us to talk about you now, isn't it? That is why you are here. That is why you brought Omar here. I admit, I am surprised it is so important to you.
At this point, I just want to learn everything I can about the future, about possibilities. And that means knowing about the past.
It is unusual for someone in your position to seek out something like this.
Not as unusual as you'd think. There were presidents who held seance in office, who interacted with the spiritualists. There are...
Oh, you are being ridiculous, deliberately. You went through a great deal of trouble.
Yes, I did. So I'd like to begin. I'd like for you to tell me what you see.
All right. Do you remember this? Yes.
I don't know. I might.
There was one in your hat. The hat you wore nearly every day. It was a gift from your sister, the sister whom you would lose in that great flood in Johnstown. After she was gone, you wore it every day. You were 25 when that took place. She was 18.
What was my name?
Louise. They called you Lou. You were married when you lost your sister. 2 children. You never fully recovered, even as you had 3 more children. Every day you wore the hat. You told them the story of their aunt.
And what did I do?
You struggled, but you remained in the marriage. You raised the children. Does this feel familiar at all?
What happened in my life after I lost her?
That was your life. The children grew, you became a widow, and the access to the money meant that you could manage your own affairs in a way you had not done before. His sister came to live with you after she became a widow, and you lived companionably. You died in the home. One of your sons was present, and your grandchildren. That would have been 1924. Your sons and your grandsons were just the wrong age to serve in the wars. You never wanted to admit that that made you happy.
Oh. How about the others? You said we all had many. Who else was I?
We do. I feel one that goes back much further. You are You are at a market. Fabric. It is. You are close to Guatemala, I believe. Do you remember how those fibers that you wove would feel between your fingers?
Yes, I think I can.
You worked every day in the market. This was, a bit more than 1,000 years ago. One of your older ones, maybe. I can't be certain. They called you Ish Seknate. You took care of your family through what you made. You were.
What happened in my life? What was important?
The making of the fabric was important. You were buried, in fact, with a bone spindle when they buried you. It honored your skill as a weaver as well as your relative value. You could use the materials that other women could not use, and your customers made their dresses. You dressed your children. You had many boys and girls, and you seem to be looking for something that you cannot find.
No. I suppose I thought, I was wondering, when did I change things?
When did you change?
I thought I might have been what you were, a conqueror. I thought I might have changed worlds.
I love looking into the lives of history because they are intricate. We are so thoroughly woven together, all of us. Every life changes another life. And that is how the world changes.
I thought I might have done it more efficiently. It changed life for thousands of people at once, millions, as you did.